Greetings all! Today, we will be examining the common poison flying type Pokemon Zubat, its relatively uncommon evolution Golbat, and its rare final evolution Crobat, all collectively known as the Bat Pokémon. Just as their species title suggests, the members of the Zubat family are bats, belonging to the order Chiroptera, and share much in common with their mammalian brethren in terms of biology and appearance. In particular, they are part of the subfamily Desmodontinae, making them very close relatives to vampire bats. Zubat and Golbat possess purple skin and blue fur with a simple body shape, while with Crobat the colors are somewhat reversed. Their wings serve as their primary form of locomotion in the air, and their claws are usually incredibly small and are only readily visible when these creatures evolve into Crobat. As such, these digits are all but useless to them, with Crobat being the only member of the family able to naturally learn the cross-poison attack. Likewise, their lower limbs are highly deformed and are only useful for roosting on surfaces, in particular cave ceilings, and are very difficult to walk on as a result of their deformed nature. Because of this, these creatures will usually stay airborne as much as they can in order to keep themselves in a fairly mobile state. All of the members of this family are further noted for their impressively sharp fangs, which they use to drain the blood of other life forms as their primary means of sustenance, even going so far as being born with only access to the absorb attack to defend themselves with. The power of their bite and the volume of blood they can consume tends to increase as they grow older, though, eventually gaining access to Leech Life attack later in life, and grants them access to moves like Bite that can give them an edge over Psychic-type opponents that might otherwise have an advantage against them. In looking at their overall combat ability, the members of the Zubat family are not among the strongest of Pokemon, and getting them to a point where they can be a serious force to contend with can be difficult due to their choice of hit-and-run tactics to feed. Most of the attacks that these creatures gain access to are provided courtesy of their sharp fangs or wings, with moves like Bite, Wing Attack, Air Cutter, Leech Life, and Air Slash granting them some of their best offensive options. However, they are unique in that they also have a toxin-producing organ in their bodies that allows them to deliver poison fang attacks once they gain enough experience, though usually only after Zubat have naturally evolved into Golbat. They can additionally use this in a Venoshock attack later in life, but this is about the most that they can do with their poisons, not including Crobat's cross-poison attack, so they are fairly limited in terms of being able to use their natural type assignment to their fullest advantage. Even so, the family is adept at using their natural techniques to the fullest, using moves like Supersonic and Confuse Ray to befuddle their prey and leave them vulnerable to a quick strike, allowing for more tactical experience when using them in battle. This is also reflective of their potential abilities, as an immunity to their own befuddling cries provides them access to Inner Focus as a base ability, additionally providing them with access to the Infiltrator ability as a hidden ability when effectively combined with their natural agility. As far as stats go, most of the Pokemon in this family are subpar at best, with Zubat being particularly weak and Golbat only being moderately powerful as an evolved Pokemon. It is only Crobat that stands out from the rest of the family, as it is incredibly fast and has decent base values in its other stats. While its base special attack and special defense stats are below average for a fully evolved Pokemon of both of its assigned types, everything else is above average for a fully evolved Poison type as well as the Flying type, minus its base attack stat. In particular, the base speed stat is incredibly high for both types, granting them the highest base speed stat out of all Poison type Pokemon, and they further have the highest non-UB base stat total out of all Poison type Pokemon. As such, while Crobat can be a pain to acquire, they are definitely among the strongest of Poison type Pokemon and can be a serious nuisance if used properly in battle. Zubat and its evolutions are cave dwellers for the most part, and usually only travel outdoors at night, preferring to stay in caves and huddling together in large numbers when they are especially cold. The reason why these creatures are nocturnal by nature is that their skin is quite thin and easily burned, so they can't stand exposure to sunlight for more than a few hours at a time without being badly hurt by its intense heat. Unfortunately, this type of lifestyle has resulted in drastic mutations in their form, as they have completely lost the ability to smell, and in the case of Zubat, prolonged existence in dark environments has caused skin folds to develop over their eyes as they're developing prior to birth, resulting in them having no access to sight for a substantial portion of their lives. This is completely rectified when they evolve into Golbat though, as the skin flaps shrink when they reach technical adulthood and their true functioning eyes are unveiled. Because of this, Zubat will only travel out to start feeding on their own once they are old enough to be able to use the Supersonic technique, constantly emitting ultrasonic cries from their mouths to see the world around them through sound, as their cries reverberate and bounce off of objects nearby, only to come back to their ears and be translated into a visual image in their minds. While the exact frequency of these cries differs between different colonies of Zubat, they can be extremely annoying to those that are caught in their pathways, resulting in their supersonic technique being a bit more potent than normal for a creature of their size. Unfortunately, because these bats cannot easily tell what time of day it is without eyesight, they cannot tell when the sun is rising until they feel the heat of it on their skin. As such, it is not uncommon to see these creatures resting under the eaves of houses if they are far from home when dawn arrives, but they are thankfully harmless in cases like this, as they will only feed when they feel physically safe from being sunburned. The evolution of Zubat into Golbat increases their overall aggression level and makes them far more difficult to handle as opponents in the wild. The process of evolution shrinks the skin flaps covering their eyes so Golbat can see once again, allowing them to more carefully plan their attacks on the life forms and attempt to sneak up on them before striking with their sharp fangs. While Zubat only need a small amount of blood per night to satiate their thirst, Golbat have much larger stomachs to fill and possess tiny holes in their fangs that allow for direct transfer of blood from their mouths to their digestive tracts, enabling them to siphon blood at a greater rate than before. In fact, Golbat can drain over 10 ounces of blood from a victim in a single sitting, which can often prove fatal to smaller life forms. Unfortunately for Golbat, they are known to be quite greedy when it comes to feeding, as they will gladly gorge themselves on blood to the point where they become too heavy to fly, leaving them vulnerable on the ground where their deformed legs provide them little in the way of effective mobility. While they are still sensitive to sunlight, Golbat and by association Crobat have thicker skin than Zubat, and in turn can survive for longer periods of time outside in the light before having to retreat into the darkness of a cave to tend to their bodies. While they can still rely on echolocation in order to see their environment, Golbat rarely use it for direction, as their cries are so powerful that they can be more effectively manifested into a screech technique that Zubat do not otherwise have access to. While Golbat gain much in evolving, they do have one problematic flaw in that they usually cannot close their mouths fully for very long. Golbat have adapted to feeding on larger prey that require a larger mouth space in order to get a good grip onto them while siphoning blood, so their jaws have distended to the point where they are constantly agape. The issue with this is that these bats have to contract many of their abdominal muscles in order to close their lower jaws, and this process can be painful if their mouth is held in a closed position for more than a few minutes. As such, it is more common to see these creatures covering their mouths with their wings when resting, keeping their massive tongues from wriggling around in the air where they and the entirety of their mouth are vulnerable to attack. Under normal circumstances, Golbat are the adult form of their family and do not readily evolve, but they are among the limited number of Pokemon known to possess what is called the friendship gene, a unique section of their genome that is known to spontaneously go from an inactive to active state when these creatures develop an especially close bond with their trainers, enabling them to further evolve into Crobat, their true final evolutionary state. While Crobat technically have a slightly smaller body frame than their pre-evolved form, they are free of the issues that Golbat have with their mouths, and can in turn put their wings to full use at any time. At the same time, though, their fangs have become much smaller in size, so Crobat have to constantly feed at night in order to obtain the correct level of nutrition to satisfy themselves. Thankfully, they are helped in this effort by the development of a second pair of wings on their body, formed from the transformation of their hind legs into wings, and in turn granting them 4 wings in total as a pair of stumpy perching limbs grow in their place. This is also followed by a change in fur color that makes it easier for them to blend in with the darkness at night. While Crobat normally only have to use a single pair of wings to maintain flight, switching between them to prevent exhaustion and in turn increasing their overall maximum flight time, they can beat all 4 at once to counteract the air buffering that their flapping otherwise makes. This cancels out the sound made by each wing to create a nearly silent flight, allowing Crobat to sneak up on just about any type of prey without warning for a quick meal before flying off once again. The combined motion of these wings further amplifies their overall movement speed to make them almost untraceable in both the dark and daylight alike, though similarly to Zubat, they have to rely on echolocation in order to more readily gauge the surroundings and position when flying at high speeds. Regardless, this can make Crobat a force to be reckoned with in battle, as while their offenses might not be incredibly strong, they can use their speed and silent flight to easily rattle opponents before using what power they do have to confuse or potentially poison them, helping to make for a painful encounter if they are allowed to linger around for too long. While they might not naturally gain access to a particularly powerful set of attacks compared to other Pokemon, the members of the Zubat family are annoying tacticians that can use confusion and poison to muddle the senses of the opposition and set them up for a slow and painful end in battle. It may take some effort and patience in order to make them worthy fighters, but for those willing to stick with them and give them the attention they need, these bloodthirsty bats can be handy partners and help transport trainers to whatever destinations they wish to go to once in a fully evolved state. Just make sure that you do your part as an owner and provide them the opportunity and/or resources to gather the sustenance they need to survive. Otherwise, they may forgo any partnerships you have made with them and dine on your own supply if they can't stand the pain of hunger any longer.